was that? Today's Friday, so 4 or 5 days away from now, and it looks like Bernie Sanders might absolutely just crush it in the state of California, which is super important. Excuse me. California is the most delegate rich state. They have, what is it, 415 delegates up for grabs, I believe. And this is from a poll from the LA Times and UC Berkeley. Bernie Sanders, 34% of support in California, double of the second place. Warren at 17, uh, oligarch Bloomberg at 12, Buttigieg 11, Biden at 8. And this poll showed that Bernie Sanders could actually get half of the delegates that are up for grabs in California, which would be close to 10% of the delegates that Bernie Sanders would need to clinch the nomination. So that's huge. And again, California, you need to break that 15% threshold, either statewide or in a congressional district, to get allotted any delegates. And it's talked about how Bernie Sanders will more than likely, or could reach, I should say, the 15% threshold in all 53 congressional districts in California. So he's absolutely poised to just crush it and clean up in California on Super Tuesday. And it's just super important again that he wins by as wide of margins as possible, because we saw what happened in Iowa when it gets kind of close with the other candidates. The Democratic establishment likes to throw as many wrenches in the mix as possible to try to steal it from him. So we gotta again act like Bernie Sanders is 20 points down in all these caucus and primary states. Knock on doors, make phone calls, talk to friends, talk to family members, post on social media, donate if you can, uh, all of the above, any combination, it's all good. We gotta again just keep up the momentum, because the establishment's going to throw everything that they can to make sure Bernie isn't the nominee. But he again is a once in a lifetime candidate who really wants to radically transform the United States to make it work for the working people, the working class, and not the billionaire owner oligarch class that it currently serves. And then so just wanted to do a little bit of the breakdown of this poll of where a lot of Bernie support is coming from. California, Bernie Sanders has 51% excuse me, of the Latino vote, which is huge. That's just massive. That's over half, and that's huge voting block in California as well. He has 38% of the African American vote, and now he again leads Joe Biden nationwide among the African American voters, Asian American voters. He has 37% of the vote. Check this out. Ages 18 to 29, Bernie Sanders, 61% of the vote. Voters, 30 to 39, 53%, 40 to 49, 35%. And for the younger, I should say for the older voters that, maybe break more towards people like Joe Biden, it also should be pointed out, Joe Biden, when he was a senator, proposed cutting Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, any government program he said he was willing to put on the chopping block. And I don't see why anybody would think he wouldn't be willing to do that. In the future as president, some type of, grand bargain that the Obama-Biden administration actually tried to make with the Senate Republicans and members of the House. So again, we need to highlight how horrible Joe Biden is for older voters, and how Bernie Sanders has been steadfast in wanting to increase, access and support, and to protect programs like Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, etc., etc. And again, Bernie Sanders has the most diverse working class coalition of any candidate. He has a real broad-based, diverse movement and support behind him. So when the media likes to paint, Bernie supporters as the quote Bernie bros, it does a huge disservice, and it really erases, the just huge broad-based support that Bernie Sanders has from people and communities of color. And it's just really sick and disgusting, frankly, when people try to paint that narrative of Bernie Sanders supporters as being the, typical Bernie bro. Anyways, I could go on, but Bernie's Sanders 34% in this poll in California. Elizabeth Warren in second at 17. I mean, what would honestly be ideal was if somehow in these, 53 congressional districts in California, if Bernie Sanders was the only candidate to hit that 15% threshold and nobody else did, then he would potentially get the 450 delegate total. So if you're in California, again, knock on doors, text, call, talk to friends, talk to family members, post on Twitter, post on Facebook, post on Instagram, wherever. Get the word out. Bernie Sanders is the only chance that we have to get a progressive elected to the White House who will, again, fight for the working people of the United States through a lens of social and economic justice, and he's the only one who's going to stand up and fight for what the people in the United States need, things like Medicare for all, things like a Green New Deal, things like free college, things like legalizing marijuana, canceling student loan debt, reining in the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, ending the war on the horribly racist war on drugs. All of these things, Bernie Sanders is the only candidate who will actually fight to make them a reality. And again, he's a once-in-a-lifetime candidate. I've never went out and canvassed for anybody before. I'm going to go canvass tomorrow here in Washington State for Bernie, and I encourage you, if you're able to do the same or engage in whatever type of outreach or support that you can for Bernie. It's just super, super important that he becomes the nominee. Those are my thoughts. Leave yours in the comment sections down below.